We're looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck. 3301. This message strangely appeared on the X forum of popular image sharing service 4chan on Wednesday, the 4th of July in 2012. One of the more curious images to appear online captivated entire communities of people for years. Was it to be that those who chased the cicada, looking to see who or what was behind the cryptic puzzle, were only chasing a phantom or a white rabbit? Or was there truly an organization seeking to find those possessing the intellect to solve their riddle? A riddle that would ultimately lead them to their favored recruits. Either way, we'll attempt to figure it out for ourselves. I'm Nick, the host of the Insidious Agenda Podcast, and this week I'm bringing you a mysterious new story. This is Chapter 40. Good luck. Goodbye. The Mystery of Cicada 3301. The first image from the organization Cicada 3301 was released on the 4th of January in 2012. Its aim was to seek intelligent individuals to join their organization, or, at a bare minimum, to find them and learn their identity. The message was displayed as black text on a white background. Many who stumbled across the initial image may have figured it was some type of trolling, or a type of prank that had been known to frequent the platform. When users opened this image, they discovered that there was much more than just the image at face value, as eager people attempted to solve the puzzle. Those with a knowledge of coding were rewarded when they ran the image through a text editor, which yielded the message, Tiberius Claudius Caesar says, followed by a line of code. Of course, to the average person, this code wouldn't have meant anything, or would appear like gibberish, almost as though someone had a little too much fun with their keyboard. To those experts and cryptographers who took part in solving the puzzle, however, the giveaway was the word Caesar. To them, this spoke of an encryption process to create what was known as a Caesar cipher, that which was represented by the line of coding. When this was solved, it gave a URL. At the end of that URL was the image of a duck. Well, a duck hunting decoy to be specific. With the picture of a duck was the message, "Whoops, just decoys this way. Looks like you can't guess how to get the message out." The curious thing about the picture were the words out and guess. This led people to the program Outguess, a program which allows users to hide secret messages within the coding of files, which can either be text or images. The secret message contained in the code would lead users to discover the various Reddit usernames whose accounts were linked with the 3301 organization. As another reward, those that had made it this far were rewarded with 2 more images, both of which needed to be deciphered as well. Within these was also discovered a path that, when followed, led users to a phone number that was located in Texas. Of course, who wouldn't be intrigued to find out what was at the end of this line? Those who called were greeted with this automated message.
Very good. You have done well. There are 3 prime numbers associated with the original final .jpg image. 3301 is one of them. You will have to find the other 2. Multiply all three of these numbers together and add a .com on the end to find the next step. Good luck. Goodbye.
Those other two prime numbers, referenced in the message, ended up being the dimensions of the original image, 509 by 503 pixels. When multiplied together with 3301, it yielded the website's number, 845-145-127.com. When that site was accessed, and it no longer exists so you can save yourself the effort trying to write that number down, users were met with this message: "You have done well to come this far. Patience is a virtue." Had they done it? Surely they couldn't have reached the end of the road. After all, 3301 was nowhere to be found. After an amount of time passed, the message changed. That would take this from the internet into our reality. The new message was a series of GPS coordinates that would lead people to places like California, Australia, South Korea, Russia, and Poland, just among some of those with coordinates. What was found at each location was a QR code below the image of a cicada. Clever enough, this confirmed that either this was the work of one individual, or Cicada 3301 was vast, having a large network and the manpower to drop posters in different areas of the world simultaneously. 4chan users and the internet banded together to scan each QR code, and they discovered that there were two different variations of a poster. They too had QR codes. This gave a series of new ciphers. The ciphers would lead want-to-be detectives to two messages. The first read, "In 29 volumes, knowledge was once contained. How many lines of code remained when the Mabinigan paused? Go that far in from the beginning and find my first name." The second message read, "A poem of fading death, named for a king, meant to be read only once and vanish. Alas, it could not remain unseen." Possibly, this was nothing more than text, as it was followed by another group of book ciphers. It was eventually discovered that the cipher was from a 3.5-inch disc that was included with the book Agrippa, a Book of the Dead by William Gibson. This book contained a 3.5-inch floppy disk that, when used only once, would self-encrypt and make it useless. Along with this book, solutions for other ciphers were found in the books The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake, and to draw the occult into this, the Book of Law by our Chapter 6 subject, Aleister Crowley. This yielded yet another code, one that wasn't to be entered for the faint of heart. A code that would require the use of the Tor network, a URL that would bring users into the dark web. Let's depart from our search for Cicada for one moment, as it's a good opportunity to talk about the different levels of the internet. Yes, the internet goes far beyond what we see at face value and can access through basic channels. The part of the internet that we operate on as members of the public is what's known as the surface web. The surface web comprises so much information that it's hard to imagine where it ends. In truth, the surface web is only responsible for around 4% of all data contained available on the internet. There's not much more to say about the surface web, as it's what you see when you open your browser. The surface web is Google, Wikipedia, etc. As we descend beneath the waves of the internet, we come to the deep web, and an area not accessible by surface web computers. An area that might give you data-based thalassophobia, as around 90% of the internet's data is stored here. This includes things like medical and financial records, academic information, and some government resources. Things you normally wouldn't be able to find through a normal search engine, or are located on their own internet-based programs behind some kind of security or encryption. Beyond the deep web, in the darkness of the Marianas Trench of the internet, lies the dark web. The dark web, sometimes referred to as dark net, is responsible for the remaining 6% of internet data, that which is the most extreme, classified, and oftentimes illegal. It requires a special program, like Tor, as I mentioned, to access and ensure that your connection can bypass restrictions from upper levels. This is meant to grant the user anonymity and hide a user's information, like their geolocation and IP address. The dark web is where you find information contained in data leaks, credit card numbers, and other forms of personal information. It is the area you'll also find hackers, hitmen, illegal drugs like the Silk Road system, human or animal trafficking, and much more grotesque, disturbing, or just outright strange content. If you have a true interest in exploring the dark web, I recommend against it. Wandering around in the dark is often the best way to be found. Technologically devastating viruses and malware, internet-savvy hackers that can steal your identity, and many other things operate here. If you go poking around anonymously in the dark web, you might just be discovered. Now let's get back to our search. Those souls brave enough to enter into the dark web were rewarded with the message, "Congratulations. Please create a new email address with a public, free web-based service, one you've never used before, and enter it below. We recommend you do this while still using Tor for anonymity. We will email you a number within the next few days in the order in which you arrived at this page. Once you receive it, come back to this page and append a slash and then the number you received to this URL, 3301. Not everyone that was fortunate enough to make it this far was allowed to continue. Only so many were allowed to continue on to the next series of puzzles. Those who weren't were met with the message, "We want the best, not the followers." After receiving their codes, the lucky users then had to solve 2 other puzzles requiring different keys, now known as the RSA puzzle and the MIDI puzzle, the latter of which came with a very strange song. I'll play a clip for you now so you know what I'm talking about. Curious here is that each puzzle was different. The organization wanted to ensure that each and every person was alone and not receiving assistance from anyone else. They were also given the warning that whomever received a key in their message was not to share it with anyone else, else all who used the key would be locked out of the process. After figuring out the song was yet a musical cryptogram, which had different combinations of pitch and tone that might thought to be representative of letters, users ran their messages through what was known as a MIDI parser and were granted yet another cipher. Decoding this cipher gave the message, "Very good. You have proven to be the most dedicated to come this far. To attain enlightenment, create an AGPG key for your mail address and load it to the key servers to encrypt the following word list using Cicada 3301 public key. Sign it with your key's end as the C, Armor, and cipher. Text to the Gmail address from which you received your numbers." After the users followed that action, that was it. No further puzzle, no next steps, nothing. Well, at least nothing that we know. There do exist some emails and pictures that have leaked showing what came next. but no one can confirm or attest to their authenticity. If they are to be believed, then winners received an email from Cicada 3301, one that said the following: "We are an international group. We have no name. We have no symbol. We have no membership rosters. We are much like a think tank, in that our primary focus is on researching and developing techniques to aid the ideas we advocate: liberty, privacy, and security." This email was sent in addition to a task, the development of a dead man's switch of sorts. What this was meant to do was, in the event of the death of a whistleblower, someone like Edward Snowden, who I'll touch on shortly, the system would auto-trigger and release all of their sensitive information to the public. The project was started, but whether due to a lack of a focused group dynamic, financing, availability, or anything you can imagine, the project was eventually abandoned. Only a month later, the next and closing piece of the puzzle was entered into Reddit, this time with white text over a black background. "Hello. We have now found the individuals we sought. Thus, our month-long journey ends. For now. Thank you for your dedication and effort. If you were unable to complete the test or did not receive an email, do not despair. There will be more opportunities like this one. Thank you all. 3301. This was followed with a PS, and then 3 lines of numbers, broken by slashes. Later, this was discovered to be indicative of a PGP, or Pretty Good Product signature, to ensure that any more communication from the 3301 organization could be authenticated. And that was it. Cicada 3301 had dropped their final parting to the world and vanished. As the process ran its course, some had tried to unmask the organization behind this. Many believed it to be an organization like the Central Intelligence Agency, using recruiting methods that some might consider unconventional. Cicada 3301 might have been a secret organization or a network of individuals of higher intelligence, but for what their true purpose was, we'll never know. A personal belief of mine, call it a conspiracy, or moreover just fun speculation, is that the Cicada 3301 puzzle was a recruiting drive for the now faceless internet organization known as Anonymous, possibly then in its early stages. Also, likely as well, is that this was one of the biggest pranks the internet had ever seen. One individual, or group of people, drawing in many of the world's most intelligent people and those who were extremely proficient in coding, hacking, crypto security, and other things like that, drawing them so far in, only to lock them out just before the end and tell them that they were only ever followers. Interestingly enough, with the cryptography and numerology, it's possible that Cicada 3301 could value themselves as something similar to the Freemasons, as much of this information captured the eye of people like Sarah Winchester, who I told you the story of in Chapter 36. Cicada 3301 appeared again 1 year to the day later, the 4th of January, 2013, with the message, "Hello again. Our search for intelligent individuals continues. The first clue is hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck. 3301. The second set of puzzles, like the first, led eager sleuths through various ciphers, puzzles, numerology, and more strange messages. At the end, waiting for them, was a quiz of 20 questions, and then nothing. Those selected were said to receive an email, but that's where their journey ended, so far as we know. With the second puzzle, It seemed as though the organization reviewed each quiz and might have only selected those whose answers they deemed appropriate. It's possible that the group and those trying to solve future puzzles gave up after 2013. With the revelations and upgrades to internet monitoring and data surveillance by the US government, which were outlined by Edward Snowden, the group may have been fearful of any judicial repercussions that may have found them, whether by way of discovery by the NSA or organizations in other world governments. Cicada 3301 may have simply been spooked from their original purpose, which was to protect, and in the event of death, release information held by whistleblowers. They might have abandoned their work altogether. With that being said, another set of puzzles came out in January of 2014. This series of puzzles has never truly been solved. Hello. Epiphany is upon you. Your pilgrimage has begun. Enlightenment awaits. This message came with the Cicada logo, bearing a coded message within, yet again, sending those eager minds off on a wild chase into the internet. The only thing winners received this time was a link to an ebook known as the Liber Primus. This 74-page book was filled with images and coded runes. This was much darker than themes of the past, as this, when deciphered, read, "It is through the pilgrimage that we shape ourselves and our realities. Journey deep within, and you will arrive outside like the instar. It is only through going within that we may engage." As of the writing of this episode, 56 pages of the 74-page book remain unsolved, 7 years later. The final message ever given by Cicada 3301 came in 2016. "The path lies empty. Epiphany seeks the devoted. Liber Primus is the way. Its words are the map. Their meaning is the road, and their numbers are the direction. Seek, and you will be found. Good luck." Today, as parts of the Liber Primus remain undeciphered, the Cicada 3301 puzzle is unsolved. Though we wait, and have long been waiting for the next steps, Cicada 3301 lies dormant. Will we ever know its true purpose? Will the end finally be reached? We might never know. The only thing we know for sure is that Cicada 3301 is out there somewhere. Are they still vigilant? Do they still exist, or have they long been disbanded? Are they hackers, occultists, or just people on the internet playing one of the most clever and elaborate games ever created, one that has undertones of the occult? One thing the group did accomplish was bringing together some of the brightest minds and clever code breakers to solve an enigmatic puzzle. Though not as prevalent at face value anymore, the internet is still abuzz with those communities of people seeking to fully decipher the Liber Primus, thus gaining them access to what comes next. But as for the common person, we'll never know, and those who have made it to the end can never tell. Until then, we're simply waiting on their next image. Good luck, and goodbye, 3301. As the mystery has truly never been solved, we can't outrightly close the cover on this chapter of the Insidious Agenda. If you never knew about the internet's most famous, unsolved puzzle, the mystery of Cicada 3301, you're now in the loop. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode and that you learned something. I'll leave links in the show notes to websites that have a lot of the pictures for the Cicada 3301 puzzle. If you want to check them out, just so that the puzzles make more sense. And if you're feeling up to it, check out the third puzzle, the Liber Primus, and see if you can solve the mystery for yourself. Before you go, just a reminder to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of the amazing stories to come. If you listened on YouTube, ensure you're subscribed to the podcast and hit that like button if you enjoyed today's story. New episodes release every Tuesday at midnight Eastern Standard Time. But for now, it's time to close the cover of the Insidious Agenda. I'll see you again next week.